of October brutality committed by Hamas terrorists is there for everyone to witness. But there is still a section, even here in India, who still are looking out for a ceasefire agreement with the terrorist group. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has now made it abundantly clear that there is absolutely no question of any sort of dialogue taking place with the Hamas. In fact, he says that Israel will certainly wipe off Hamas from the face of earth. How exactly would that take place, given the fact that there have been multiple reports suggesting that there could be a possibility of a ground invasion? In fact, that has been happening for several weeks put together. Some say that there is growing pressure from the West. What exactly is the reality? In a short while from now, the Prime Minister's office would be represented from Israel, from Tel Aviv, in a short while from now, joining us on The Burning Question. But before that, let's take a look at the headlines we are tracking at this hour.
बस एक पुतले का दहन ना हो, ये दहन हो उन शक्तियों का जो जातिवाद और क्षेत्रवाद के नाम पर मां भारती को बांटने का प्रयास कर।
Prime Minister sends out big message, says burn the forces of caste divisiveness. Union Minister takes note of the complaint against Mahua Moitro. Ashwini Vaishnav takes note, says that issues of grave importance subject under investigation.
अभी एक नया नाम उनका चलता है दुनिया में, कल्चरल मार्क्सिस्ट या वोक। राजनीतिक स्वार्थों के लिए अपने प्रतिस्पर्धी को पराजित करने की जो उद्योग चलते हैं, उसमें इन शक्तियों के साथ गठबंधन करने का अविवेक भी चलता है। यह अपेक्षित नहीं है, लेकिन होता है।
RSS chief launches scathing attack on woke brigade, says beware of groups that want to destroy India. Following court order, Kerala Temple Board bans RSS activities in temple premises. Israel continues to pound Hamas terror. 6 top commanders of Hamas eliminated in airstrikes. France president in Tel Aviv to support Israel's fight against terror held talk with Benjamin Netanyahu. Big relief for former Pakistan Prime Minister. Pakistan government suspends Nawaz Sharif sentence. A lot has been spoken about what could perhaps be the response coming in from Israel after what the world witnessed on 7th of October. Macabre violence that was witnessed not just by Israel but by the entire world. Many questioning what exactly should have been the response of Israel. There were multiple reports essentially suggesting that there could be a possibility of a ground invasion. That hasn't taken place so far. What has stalled this entire proposal of a possible ground invasion? For more on this, I'm joined by the spokesperson of Israel's Prime Minister's office, Elon Levy. Mr. Levy, thank you very much for once again joining us on Republic TV. Last when we spoke, you gave us a sense of what could we really expect. Many who would say that perhaps the response would have been a ground invasion, a ground incursion, whatever you may name it. But the fact of the matter is that you had promised that Hamas would be wiped off. What we are essentially witnessing is what we have seen in the past too. When you've had the war with Hamas, airstrikes being carried out, Hamas targets have been identified. So how exactly is Israel planning to do it differently? Or is it because of the amount of pressure that is being built by certain Western countries? Are you now succumbing to that pressure?
Israel is going to destroy Hamas. Israel is going to destroy Hamas because we have no choice, because the world was so shocked by the atrocities of October 7th when it invaded and beheaded people and burned whole families alive and tortured people and mutilated them before killing them. We're going to destroy Hamas. It's coming. This war is different. This isn't another round of fighting in which Israel is going to Hamas or degrade Hamas. The world and Israel were so shocked by the atrocities of October 7th that this time we're going to get rid of Hamas. The goal is total victory. And I can tell you that Israel really feels that we have the whole free world behind us. The President of the United States, the Prime Minister of Britain, the President of France, the Prime Minister of Italy, the Prime Minister of Greece, the Prime Minister of the Netherlands, all coming to Israel in order to strengthen us and say Israel needs to win this war. We have their backs. They support us. They support us in fighting Hamas. And we know that Israel enjoys unprecedented international solidarity and support as we continue with the next stage of this campaign to destroy the evil ISIS-like terror organization that murdered 1,400 of our friends, our family, our children on October 7th.
Mr. Levy, I'm quoting a Western media outlet. They've taken quotes from the Pentagon, and they say that the Biden administration is concerned that Israel lacks the achievable military objectives in Gaza and that Israel Defense Forces are not yet ready to launch a ground invasion with a plan that can work. I'm not saying this. This is a Western media outlet, and they are now quoting the Pentagon. That is the reason why many would be extremely worried at this point in time, especially those who have suffered at the hands of terrorists like not just Hamas. Here in India too, remember, we too have suffered at the hands of Islamic jihadi terrorists. Hence, we are once again asking you this question. While the West is now claiming that perhaps it's going to take some more time, urban warfare requires a different tactic altogether. I'm once again asking you this question because this is what the Western media is now reporting.
Israel is going to move in. It's going to destroy Hamas, and we're going to do it with the unprecedented international solidarity that we're seeing. You know, the visit by President Joe Biden was really unprecedented. It's the first time that a president of the United States has come to visit Israel during a wartime, and he spoke very forcefully about Israel's right and its duty to defend itself against Hamas, against its ISIS-like atrocities. And he vowed that Israel is going to have everything it needs in order to defeat Hamas. And already we've seen the United States stepping up, not only moral support, moral leadership, also sending us the supplies that we need in order to get rid of this evil terror organization just meters away from people's homes. Now, I'm not going to speculate on when our troops are going to go in, when that next stage in the operation is coming, but it's going to happen. We really feel that the strong support of the international community, everyone understands it's different, that a terror organization that murdered 1,400 people, that injured over 5,000 people, that took over 200 people, including babies, hostage into the Gaza Strip, that terror organization can no longer be allowed to stalk the earth. It must be destroyed, and Israel is going to achieve total victory over Hamas.
Mr. Levy, I'm asking you this question. Correct me if I'm wrong. You are not ruling out the possibility of a ground invasion, a ground incursion to take place in the days to come. You're not putting out a timeline to that, and it's completely understandable. It's, after all, a military decision that is to be taken. But having said that, are you confirming that there is a possibility in the days to come, at least that's what you're preparing for, that there would be a ground invasion, a ground incursion?
As I said, I'm not going to speculate or comment on the timetable, but this is going to happen. Israel has made its goal very clear. We are going to totally demolish Hamas's military and governing capabilities inside the Gaza Strip. This war is going to end when there is no organization called Hamas in the Gaza Strip that is able to harm our people. Every single Hamas terrorist, everyone who was involved in the October 7th massacre, everyone who was involved in beheading our people and burning them and raping our girls, every Hamas rocket, every Hamas infrastructure inside the Gaza Strip is a legitimate military target, and we are coming after it. I'm not going to speculate when that is going to happen, but it's coming. Hamas declared war on us. This isn't a war Israel wanted. It's not a war Israel started. It's not a war Israel even expected. We were surprised and caught off guard. But it's a war that Israel is going to win. Let's
also understand the criticality of it. We're talking about an urban warfare. We're talking about Hamas essentially using tunnels to hide at this point in time. And also, of course, the very fact that you have to take into consideration that there are civilian lives that could have been lost. And that is the reason why you're taking all the necessary precautions. Why don't you help us understand the challenges perhaps Israel faces at this point in time, and what is it that Israel is taking into consideration before going full hog with regards to that final assault?
The situation in the Gaza Strip is such that Hamas, the terror organization that committed the October 7th massacre, has embedded itself deep inside population areas. It's using the people of Gaza as human shields, building its rocket launchers and its terror infrastructure and tunnels underneath homes, under schools, under hospitals. While Israel is using its military to protect its civilians, Hamas is using its civilians in order to protect its military. Now, what we're doing is we're asking people inside the Gaza Strip to move out of the way temporarily because we don't want them to be hurt. We don't want civilians to be hurt. So we're asking the people of Gaza to move for their own safety. And we see Hamas, the terror organization, using them as human shields, that is stopping them from evacuating, that is telling them to stay and become martyrs in the cause of jihad, that is stealing their humanitarian aid and leaving them in poverty. And when we move in, when we win, when we destroy Hamas, I hope a new reality is going to emerge inside the Gaza Strip, a reality that will create space for more responsible, more peaceful voices inside the Gaza Strip to rebuild the Gaza Strip, this time without the evil terror organization that has used the Gaza Strip as a base to butcher Israelis, to behead them, to burn them, to rape them. We're going to build a new reality in the Gaza Strip, and that new reality will be better and safer, not only for the people of Israel, but also for the Palestinian people.
Mr. Levy, I spoke to you just about a week ago, and over the last few days, I've also interviewed several people who have been associated with the rescue operation and also been the first responders, the survivors. And the story that we have put together only puts out an image, at least for those who've been romanticizing with terror. Tonight, I'm asking you this question because you've had that press conference with the international media yesterday at Tel Aviv, where you put out the evidence which you want the world to see. Tonight, through Republic Media Network, what is it that you would like to tell them in terms of the evidence that Israel has gathered over the last few days? What is it that is emerging as the bigger picture?
You know, in the past, the perpetrators of crimes against humanity tried to cover up their crimes. But Hamas filmed it. Hamas filmed everything on body cameras because they're proud of that violence, because they're proud of what they did to our people. And yesterday I sat through 43 minutes of raw, unedited footage of Hamas atrocities. And I saw bodies. I saw burned bodies. I saw the burned body of a woman who was burned so badly that her lips had burned away. You could see only her teeth. I saw a body that had been burned so badly you could see the white of the skull. I saw the body of a burned baby, burned so badly it looked like a lump of coal. And I had to ask the video to be stopped so I could be told that's the burned body of a baby. That's what Hamas did to our people on the 7th of October. Those are the atrocities that Hamas committed against our children, against our friends, against our family, and that is why Israel has decided no more. No more, never again. That's why this war that Hamas started against Israel is going to end. And Israel is going to end this war with the total defeat of Hamas, because a terror organization that evil, that it can behead babies, that it can burn them alive, that terror organization doesn't deserve to live another day longer on planet Earth.
Mr. Levy, are you ruling out the possibility of any sort of ceasefire? While many would argue, especially here in India, that there is no question of any ceasefire or, for that matter, even any dialogue with any terrorist group. But we do understand the situation from where Israel is working at this point in time, given the fact that you've had certain Islamic nations coming together and giving that, having that tacit understanding with Hamas. I want to understand from you, has the government of Israel decided that there is no question of any sort of ceasefire in the days to come?
There will be no ceasefire, and we will continue with our operation to destroy Hamas until we have achieved our goals. because Israel is not going back to the world that existed at 6 o'clock in the morning on October 7th. If you're asking for a ceasefire, you're saying that the terror group that beheaded and burned babies should get away with it. If you're asking for a ceasefire, you're saying that that terror group should be free to do the same thing again. If you're asking for a ceasefire, you're saying that Hamas, the terror organization that raped little girls with such brutality it broke their bones, should get away with it, and the international community will stop Israel from defending itself. And we say no. Enough is enough. We're sick. We're disgusted by what Hamas has done. It is an evil organization that controls territory just meters away from Israelis' homes, that has more than 220 Israeli hostages in captivity, from babies to elderly people, and we're coming after them. And we will continue our campaign until we achieve our goal of destroying Hamas. That will happen.
Mr. Levy, there is a fine difference that many fail to understand, that Hamas cannot be equated to the Palestinians, the Gazans who are there. And that cardinal mistake is made by many, and that is the reason why you would hear, at least that's what the kind of outcry that I hear from the Western media outlets, that look here, there are lives that are being lost in Gaza. I spoke to one of the Israeli Special Forces officers a short while back. He literally broke down while he was speaking to us by saying that, look here, we do not want this war. We do not want this fight to continue. We want peace. That's what we were hoping for, but that never happened. Hence, I'm asking you this question, Mr. Levy. Why don't you tell our viewers that the fight is not against Hamas? The fight is not against those who are living in Gaza, but it is against Hamas. And how exactly would you really differentiate that?
This is the war that Hamas declared against Israel with the atrocities of October 7th, and we're fighting Hamas. We're fighting a brutal terror organization that openly says its plan is to murder all the Jews, to destroy the state of Israel. We're not fighting against the Gaza Strip. We're not fighting against the Palestinians. We want to live in peace with the Palestinians as our neighbors. We're fighting against brutal terrorists backed by Iran who use ISIS-style violence in order to murder our people with extreme brutality, and who would do exactly the same thing if given half a chance. We're fighting against the terrorists who say that Israel has no right to exist, that there should be no country called Israel, that all the Jews who live here should be killed or burned or tortured or mutilated. Our fight is against that terror organization, and I think the world understands it. I think the world understands that on October 7th, Israel was attacked. The people of Israel were attacked in the most brutal way by terrorists who broke into their homes, beheaded their babies, burned whole families alive, raped their girls. That is the organization that we're fighting against. And that's the organization that we're going to defeat. And I hope that when that happens, it'll be possible to create space. It'll be possible to create space to move towards more peaceful relations for the people living inside the Gaza Strip once we free that territory from the tyranny of the brutal, genocidal terror organization that committed the October 7th massacre.
Mr. I also want to understand the role essentially that is being played by Qatar. Over the last few days, has there been any sort of perhaps a reach out by them? Because there's a growing concern that at least the Islamic nations are saying that, look here, if this continues, it is going to have its own ramifications, and that's going to be felt across the globe. Has there been any sort of reach out made by Qatar or any other Islamic nation at this point in time to somewhere down the line perhaps come on the negotiating table?
Qatar is a country that is offering refuge to Hamas. It is offering refuge to the terrorist leaders and masterminds who were behind the October 7th massacre. And our position has been very clear. No country in the world would have diplomatic relations with ISIS. No country in the world would offer shelter to ISIS. And no country in the world should offer shelter to Hamas. Hamas should be treated like ISIS. It's worse than ISIS. And we're calling on the international community to put all pressure that they can on Hamas, on its supporters, on the countries that are sheltering it, to release our hostages immediately. And we're calling on the world to apply sanctions against the countries that are harboring Hamas. Because Hamas isn't just an enemy of Israel. It's an enemy of humanity. On October 7th, They killed, abducted, and injured nationals of over 40 countries. This was a crime against humanity. Hamas is an enemy of civilization, an enemy of peace, an enemy of humanity. No country should give it shelter, and those countries that do should be sanctioned, and they should be sanctioned immediately and severely by the international community.
Mr. Levy, I also want to understand from you with regards to the current situation at the northern border, given the fact that there were certain attempts that were made by Hezbollah, has the situation now been brought under control?
Hezbollah is Hamas's twin sister, another violent terror organization, this time from Lebanon, which also wants to destroy Israel. And since the October 7th massacre, we've seen it escalating the situation, shooting rockets, anti-tank missiles, trying to hit our people, trying to hit our forces. And we've been very clear. Israel is not interested in fighting on two fronts. We do not want to fight Hamas and Hezbollah at the same time. Our objective now is to go after Hamas and to destroy it in response to the October 7th massacre. But if Hezbollah drags us into a full-scale war, if it forces us to fight a war, the consequences for Hezbollah and for the Lebanese state will be severe. We will strike them hard, and it's important that people understand what may be coming if Hezbollah decides to drag Israel into a war. We don't want to fight Hamas and Hezbollah at the same time. But if we're forced to defend our people, from 1,000 rockets landing on Israeli cities every day, we will fight. We're ready to fight, and we're ready to win.
Mr. Levy, one final question that I would like to take with you is with regards to the military assistance that has been sought by Israel. Do you believe that that critical aspect has been met with? And secondly, I just want you to end our conversation giving us perhaps an idea in terms of what lies ahead. There have been multiple Hamas targets that have been identified and you also neutralized. Give us a consolidated report perhaps on how your action or your ground offensive has essentially been like over the last few days.
We're saying Hamas infrastructure. We're targeting every single Hamas terrorist, every Hamas rocket launcher, every Hamas command and control post inside the Gaza Strip. They were all involved in the October 7th massacre. They're all legitimate military targets, and we will destroy them so that Hamas can never again invade Israel and behead our people, burn children, rape our girls. We will never allow that to happen, and that's why we're going after Hamas at the moment using airstrikes that we've called up, the biggest ever call up of reserves, and the next stage is coming. And I can say we had President Biden coming just a few days ago promising that Israel will have all the support and all the equipment it needs, and we're already seeing those supplies coming in, and we're getting ready for the next stage. We're getting ready for the next stage as we defend ourselves from the brutal atrocities of October 7th so that Hamas can never, ever, ever again harm our people. That's our objective, and that's what we're going to do.
Well, Mr. Levy, thank you very much for taking out the time and speaking to our viewers.
Thank you for having me on the show.
It's always a pleasure having you on our network. Over the next few days, we're hoping that there would be more conversations with you to get us a better understanding of the ground situation. Well, that was the spokesperson from Israel Prime Minister's office speaking to Republic TV, giving us a sense of what's really expected in the coming few days. Alicia and Gursubra joining us from Sderot. Alicia, you've heard what the Prime Minister's office essentially indicating. They're very clear that the next stage of the war is yet to begin. They're preparing for it, so they're not ruling out the possibility of a ground invasion happening very soon. Give us a sense of what's really happening on the ground.
Well, Yashwan, and the same statement has been given by IDF itself while speaking to the IDF spokesperson, has clearly mentioned they are ready for the ground offensive, but it's just they are waiting for a green signal. But they're just waiting for the civilians who have been stuck there. They've been not allowed to come back, as we know from the day one of the attack from October 7, where the Hamas terrorists is been taking a human shield, which is why there are more than 200 hostages who are still in the Gaza Strip. They have been captured, and the clear message has been being given by Israel as well. Rather the fact that there will be no fuel or humanitarian aid will be provided to Hamas territory until the captives are rescued. But even we know the statement that has been coming in even across the globe, whether it is US or UK, and even Macron who was in Tel Aviv and he met Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, clearly extending their support. But we know there was a joint statement that came in on Sunday clearly saying that they are supporting Israel, but there should be Israel who should uphold humanitarian law and prevent the security of the civilians. So the people have been concerned about the civilian, which is why the ground intervention, which has to be begun very earlier, but now they have been waiting. The IDF is ready. What we have been witnessing across that there are many of the roads have been restricted and IDF has been taken away over the areas as well, but they are just waiting for the green signal, and this will only come after all the civilians will be rescued from the Gaza Strip.
Well, in fact, just a quick question that I would like to take from Gursimran too, and perhaps you can just move around a little bit, Alisha, and just give us a sense of what's really happening with Sidon. It happens to be one of those areas which is one of the worst affected. Gursimran, in terms of from the military point of view, they are essentially saying that some military assistance came in from the United States of America. They're preparing for the next phase. Is there a criticality in terms of the military support that they have? They are also not very used to the kind of urban warfare that one would be looking into once they try to enter Gaza.
See, Shovan, the situation will be entirely different because what the IDF is presently doing, that they are carrying out pin precision strikes on the targets that are being identified on the intel inputs that the ISA is generating. But once they are in the Gaza Strip, once they have the boots on the ground, the air operations needs to be ceased, because then there will be all likelihood the collateral damage that will be happening when you have your own boots on the ground and the airstrikes will take place. So keeping that in view, the classical military examples they are following, they are doing it from their own space. That is from their secure zone. The Israel Defense Forces is carrying out the attack on the some of the main commanders. Today only, if you speak of today, 3 deputy commanders, be it of the Shuti Battalion or the Sheikh Radwan Battalion or Nusirat Battalion. The Nusirat Battalion is the same one that was involved in the Kibbutz Be'eri attack, in which more than 120 civilians and the foreigners were killed by the terrorists, and its deputy commander Abed Al-Rahman has been neutralized by the IDF in an airstrike that they have carried out. So based on the intelligence input that the Israel security authorities are generating, the IDF is carrying out the pin precision strikes. But when it comes to the on-ground operations, they are taking time, as it seems that it is part of the plan that first to decimate the infrastructure, to break the backbone of the Hamas terrorists, and then to carry out the ground operations that will give an edge to the Israel side, as at that given time when the top commanders are totally wiped out, the ecosystem is wiped out, then it will be much easier to go and decimate. Yes, Shawan.
Well, thank you very much, Gursimran and Alisha, for joining us on this broadcast. Our rolling coverage continues, getting you the latest updates from Israel as the war enters day 18.
QS and THE, the world's foremost university rankings organizations, have ranked Amity amongst the top 3% universities globally, making it among the very few Indian universities to be included in both rankings. Yet another top ranking for Amity University.
Confident about the Israeli forces has it, and they are on their way.
यहाँ पर दागे जा रहे हैं और वो देखिए आप हमारे सिर के ऊपर से पास में जो है वो यहाँ पे मिसाइल्स गिरी है।
इजराइल अब ये इंतजार कर रहा है कि जैसे ही सभी लोगों को बाहर लेकर आया जाएगा, आतंकी को खत्म करने को लेकर जो स्ट्रैटेजी इजराइल ने बनाई है उसकी तैयारी भी की जाएगी।
ಇಸ್ರೇಲ್ ಹಾಗೂ ಹಮಾಸ್ ನಡುವಿನ ಸಂಘರ್ಷ 12ನೇ ದಿನಕ್ಕೆ ಕಾಲಿಟ್ಟಿದೆ. ರಿಪಬ್ಲಿಕ್ ಕನ್ನಡ ದಿಟ್ಟ ವರದಿಯನ್ನ ಇಲ್ಲಿಂದಲೇ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದು,
गोलियों की बौछार हमास के आतंकियों द्वारा कर दी गई।
So there is an alert. There is an alert which has been given. Towards the Israeli forces has it, and they are on their way.
रॉकेट जो है वो यहाँ पर दागे जा रहे हैं और वो देखिए आप हमारे सिर के ऊपर से पास में जो है वो यहाँ पे मिसाइल्स गिरी है।
इजराइल अब ये इंतजार कर रहा है कि जैसे ही सभी लोगों को बाहर लेकर आया जाएगा, आतंकी को खत्म करने को लेकर जो स्ट्रैटेजी इजराइल ने बनाई है उसकी तैयारी भी की जाएगी।
ಇಸ್ರೇಲ್
Trending burning question, powered by Reva University Century Ply Laminates, co-powered by Hyundai Motors.
सियावर रामचंद्र की, सियावर रामचंद्र की। मैं समस्त भारतवासियों को शक्ति उपासना पर्व नवरात्र और विजय पर्व विजयादशमी की अनेक अनेक शुभकामनाएं देता हूं। विजयादशमी का ये पर्व न्याय पर न्याय की विजय, अहंकार पर विनम्रता की विजय और आवेश पर धैर्य की विजय का पर्व है। ये अत्याचारी रावण पर भगवान श्री राम के विजय का पर्व है। हम इसी भावना के साथ हर वर्ष रावण दहन करते हैं, लेकिन सिर्फ इतना ही काफी नहीं है। ये पर्व हमारे लिए संकल्पों का भी पर्व है, अपने संकल्पों को दोहराने का भी पर्व है। मेरे प्यारे देशवासियों, हम इस बार विजयादशमी तब मना रहे हैं जब चंद्रमा पर हमारी विजय को 2 महीने पूरे हुए हैं। विजयादशमी पर शस्त्र पूजा का भी विधान है। भारत की धरती पर शस्त्रों की पूजा किसी भूमि पर आधिपत्य नहीं, बल्कि उसकी रक्षा के लिए शस्त्र पूजा की जाती है। नवरात्र की शक्ति पूजा का संकल्प शुरू होते समय हम आराधना करते हैं, या देवी सर्वभूतेषु शक्ति रूपेण संस्थिता नमस्तस्यै 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 नमो नमः। जब पूजा पूर्ण होती है तो हम कहते हैं, देहि सौभाग्य आरोग्यम देहि मे परमम सुखम रूपम देहि जयम देहि यशो देहि दिशो जहि। हमारी शक्ति पूजा सिर्फ हमारे लिए नहीं, पर पूरी सृष्टि के सौभाग्य, आरोग्य, सुख, विजय और यश के लिए की जाती है। भारत का दर्शन और विचार इन्हीं मूलभूत सिद्धांतों को जीता। हम गीता का ज्ञान भी जानते हैं और आईएनएस विक्रांत और तेजस का निर्माण भी जानते हैं। हम श्री राम की मर्यादा भी जानते हैं और अपनी सीमाओं की रक्षा करना भी जानते हैं। हम शक्ति पूजा का संकल्प भी जानते हैं और कोरोना में सर्वे संतु निरामया ये मंत्र भी जी करके दिखाते हैं। यही तो हमारी भारत भूमि है। भारत की विजयादशमी भी यही विचार का प्रतीक है। साथियों, आज हमें सौभाग्य मिला है कि हम भगवान राम का भव्यतम मंदिर बनता देख पा रहे हैं। और अयोध्या की अगली रामनवमी पर रामलला के मंदिर में गुंजा हर स्वर पूरे विश्व को हर्षित करने वाला है। वो स्वर जो शताब्दियों से यहां कहा जाता है, भय प्रगट कृपाला, दीन दयाला, कौशल्या हितकारी। भगवान राम की जन्मभूमि पर बन रहा भव्य मंदिर, दिव्य मंदिर, सदियों की प्रतीक्षा के बाद हम भारतीयों के धैर्य को मिली विजय का प्रतीक है। राम मंदिर में भगवान राम के विराजमान के बस कुछ ही महीने बचे हैं। भगवान श्री राम बस आने ही वाले हैं। और साथियों, उस हर्ष की परिकल्पना कीजिए जब शताब्दियों के बाद राम मंदिर में भगवान राम की प्रतिमा विराजेगी। राम के आने के उत्सव की शुरुआत तो विजयादशमी से ही शुरू हो गई थी। तुलसी बाबा रामचरित मानस में लिखते हैं, सगुन हो ही सुंदर सकल मन प्रसन्न सबके, प्रभु आगमन जनाओ जनु नगर रम्य चहु फेर। यानी जब भगवान राम का आगमन होने ही वाला था तो पूरी अयोध्या में शुगुन होने वाला था। तब सभी का मन प्रसन्न होने लगा, पूरा नगर रमणीक बन गया। ऐसे ही शगुन आज हो रहे हैं। आज भारत चंद्रमा पर विजयी हुआ है। हम दुनिया की तीसरे सबसे बड़ी अर्थव्यवस्था बनने जा रहे हैं। हमने कुछ सप्ताह पहले ही संसद की नई इमारत में प्रवेश किया है। नारी शक्ति को प्रतिनिधित्व देने के लिए संसद ने नारी शक्ति बंधन अधिनियम पारित किया है। भारत आज विश्व की सबसे बड़ी डेमोक्रेसी के साथ सबसे विश्वस्त डेमोक्रेसी के रूप में उभर रहा है। और दुनिया देख रही है, ये मदर ऑफ डेमोक्रेसी है। इन सुखद क्षणों के बीच अयोध्या में राम मंदिर में प्रभु श्री राम विराजने जा रहे हैं। एक तरह से आजादी के 75 साल बाद अब भारत के भाग्य का उदय होने जा रहा है। लेकिन यही वो समय भी है जब भारत को पहले से बहुत सतर्क रहना जरूरी है। हमें ध्यान रखना है कि आज रावण का दहन बस एक पुतले का दहन न हो, ये दहन हो हर उस विकृति का जिसके कारण समाज का आपसी सौहार्द बिगड़ता है। ये दहन हो उन शक्तियों का जो जातिवाद और क्षेत्रवाद के नाम पर मां भारती को बांटने का प्रयास करती है। ये दहन हो उन विचार का जिसमें भारत का विकास नहीं, स्वार्थ की सिद्धि निहित है। विजयादशमी का पर्व सिर्फ रावण पर राम की विजय का पर्व नहीं, राष्ट्र की हर बुराई पर राष्ट्रभक्ति की विजय का पर्व बनना चाहिए। हमें समाज में बुराइयों के, भेदभाव के अंत का संकल्प लेना चाहिए। साथियों, आने वाले 25 वर्ष भारत के लिए बेहद महत्वपूर्ण है। पूरा विश्व आज भारत की ओर नजर टिकाए हमारे सामर्थ्य को देख रहा है। अब हमें विश्राम नहीं करना है। रामचरितमानस में भी लिखा है, राम काज किने बिनु मोही कहां विश्राम। हमें भगवान राम के विचारों का भारत बनाना है। विकसित भारत जो आत्मनिर्भर हो, विकसित भारत जो विश्व शांति का संदेश दे, विकसित भारत जहां सबको अपने सपने पूरे करने का समान अधिकार हो, विकसित भारत जहां लोगों को समृद्धि और संतुष्टि का एहसास हो। राम राज्य की परिकल्पना यही है। राम राज्य बैठे त्रैलोका, हर्षित भये गए सब शोका। यानी जब राम अपने सिंहासन पर विराजे तो पूरे विश्व में इसका हर्ष हो और सभी के कष्टों का अंत हो। लेकिन ये होगा कैसे? और इसलिए मैं आज विजयादशमी पर प्रत्येक देशवासी से 10 संकल्प लेने का आग्रह करूंगा। पहला संकल्प, आने वाली पीढ़ियों का ध्यान रखते हुए हम ज्यादा से ज्यादा पानी बचाएं। दूसरा संकल्प, हम ज्यादा से ज्यादा लोगों को डिजिटल लेन देन के लिए प्रेरित करें। तीसरा संकल्प, हम अपने गांव और शहर को स्वच्छता में सबसे आगे जाएंगे। चौथा संकल्प, हम ज्यादा से ज्यादा वोकल फॉर लोकल के मंत्र को फॉलो करेंगे। मेड इन इंडिया प्रोडक्ट्स का इस्तेमाल करेंगे। पांचवा संकल्प, हम क्वालिटी काम करेंगे। होती है चलती है, जमाना चला गया। हम क्वालिटी काम करेंगे। और क्वालिटी प्रोडक्ट बनाएंगे। खराब क्वालिटी की वजह से देश के सम्मान में कमी नहीं आने देंगे। छठा संकल्प, हम पहले अपना पूरा देश देखेंगे, यात्रा करेंगे, परिभ्रमण करेंगे और पूरा देश देखने के बाद समय मिले तो फिर विदेश के लिए सोचेंगे। सातवां संकल्प, हम नेचुरल फार्मिंग के प्रति, प्राकृतिक खेती के प्रति किसानों को ज्यादा से ज्यादा जागरूक करेंगे। आठवां संकल्प, हम सुपर फूड मिलेट्स को, श्री अन्न को अपने रोजमर्रा की जिंदगी में शामिल करेंगे। इससे हमारे छोटे किसानों को और हमारी अपनी शहद को बहुत फायदा होगा। नवा संकल्प, हम सब व्यक्तिगत स्वास्थ्य के लिए योग हो, स्पोर्ट्स हो, फिटनेस को अपने जीवन में प्राथमिकता देंगे। और 10वां संकल्प, हम कम से कम एक गरीब परिवार के घर का सदस्य बनकर उसका सामाजिक आर्थिक स्तर बढ़ाएंगे। जब तक देश में एक भी गरीब ऐसा है जिसके पास मूल सुविधाएं नहीं है, घर हो, बिजली हो, गैस हो, पानी, अगर ये नहीं है, इलाज की सुविधा नहीं है, हम चैन से नहीं बैठेंगे। हमें हर लाभार्थी तक पहुंचना है, उसकी सहायता करनी है, तभी देश में विकसित भारत का सपना पूरा होगा, सबका विकास होगा, तभी भारत विकसित बनेगा। अपने इन संकल्पों को हम भगवान श्री राम का नाम लेते हुए पूर्ण कर पाए। विजयादशमी के इस पावन पर्व पर देशवासियों को मेरी इसी कामना के साथ अनेक अनेक शुभकामनाएं। रामचरितमानस में कहा गया है, प्रभीसी नगर कीजे सब काजा, हृदय राखी कौशलपुर राजा। यानी भगवान श्री राम के नाम को मन में रखकर हम जो संकल्प पूरा करना चाहेंगे, हमें उसमें सफलता अवश्य मिलेगी। हम सब भारत के संकल्पों के साथ उन्नति के पथ पर बढ़े। हम सब भारत को श्रेष्ठ भारत के लक्ष्य तक पहुंचाएं। इसी कामना के साथ आप सभी को विजयादशमी के इस पावन पर्व की ढेर सारी शुभकामनाएं। सियावर रामचंद्र की, सियावर रामचंद्र की। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
QS&THE, the world's foremost university rankings organizations, have ranked Amity amongst the top 3% universities globally, making it among the very few Indian universities to be included in both rankings. Yet another top ranking for Amity University.
We have been reported from the operational base of Israel Defense Force, and I'll just show you the visuals. Israeli forces is in place here. There are Merkava tanks, there are artillery which is in place here, and they've been constantly making the strike towards the Gaza Strip. But as we know, the statement that came in from IDF and ISF that made an announcement that IDF has conducted an aerial strike on an underground terror cell of Hamas and Islamic Jihad terror operatives who were organizing an immediate terror attack.
Egypt side to the other side. That means on the other side, and you will find that some of the aircrafts also, they are moving in the area. That clearly shows that the preparations for the aerial recce. Aerial recce is also being done by the small aircraft. These are the UAV aircraft, the unarmed, the unmanned vehicles that are being used by the Israel side. These are the visuals of the aerial recce that is being done by the Israel side. So these are the exclusive visuals we are showing you from the ground zero in the Rafah, where the aerial recce with the UAVs being done by the Israel side.
We have been reported from the operational base of Israel Defense Force, and I'll just show you the visuals. Israeli forces is in place here. There are Merkava tanks, there are artillery which is in place here, and they've been constantly making the strike towards the Gaza Strip. But as we know, the statement that came in from IDF and ISF that made an announcement that IDF has conducted an aerial strike on an underground terror cell of Hamas and Islamic Jihad terror operatives who were organizing an immediate terror attack.
Egypt side to the other side. that means on the other side, and you will find that some of the aircrafts also, they are moving in the area. That clearly shows that the preparations for the aerial recce is also being done by the small aircraft. These are the UAV aircraft, the unarmed, the unmanned vehicles that are being used by the Israel side. These are the visuals of the area.